Cold outreach advice for coaches is almost useless as stated. The advice that's absolutely correct for one buyer type is categorically wrong for another. The discriminator is buyer type, B2B or B2C. And this unit walks the binary, the conditions on the B2B side, and the edge case where an organizational introduction crosses into individual coaching. Cold outreach advice for coaches is almost useless as stated, because the advice that's absolutely correct for one buyer type is categorically wrong for another, and most people giving the advice don't make the distinction. Here's the distinction. An HR director, L&D manager, or organizational sponsor is in a professional role whose explicit job includes sourcing vendors and service providers. A well-researched, specific, relevant outreach to that person is consistent with how they expect to be found. They have organizational budgets, purchasing processes, and an orientation toward evaluating service providers. Receiving a professional, relevant outreach from a credentialed coach who has clearly done their homework is within their expected professional experience. The outreach either fits their current need or it doesn't. If it fits, a conversation happens. If it doesn't, a professional decline is normal. The channel has friction. It doesn't have categorically wrong friction. An individual executive receiving a cold pitch to buy coaching for themselves is in a personal decision context. They didn't ask to be found. The coaching purchase is about their own development, a deeply personal investment. Being pitched on a personal investment by someone they don't know generates mistrust, not interest. Tandem's own B2C cold outreach experiments produced near zero conversion and generated several "please remove me from your list" responses. The relationship damage from the intrusion cost more than any conversion might have yielded. That's the directional finding from one practice. The structural logic holds more broadly. Scenario A, B2B. A coach reaches out to an L&D director at a company they've researched. The message is specific to the organization's industry, relevant to the kind of team challenges that director is likely managing, and professional in framing. The director is in a vendor sourcing role. The outreach is appropriate, possibly timely. Scenario B, B2C. A coach sends an outreach message to an individual executive on LinkedIn who mentioned feeling stuck in a post. The executive is in a personal moment. They didn't signal they're looking for a coach. The message arrives as an intrusion on a personal moment by someone they don't know. Same outreach mechanism. Opposite appropriateness. The variable is buyer type, not execution quality. This is the concrete delivery of the channel honesty commitment named in Module 1.2.1. Coaches are routinely told to do cold outreach. Full stop. No buyer type qualifier. That advice burns time and relationship capital on the B2C side, and the coaches who try it and fail are often told they just need better copy or more persistence. They don't. They need the buyer-type discriminator. That's what the Module 1 credibility commitment was about. We tell you which channels don't work and why, not just which ones to run harder. Your hypothesis niche buyer from Module 2 settles this question. If your buyer is organizational, B2B, cold outreach belongs on the channel matrix. Run it deliberately, with research, specific targeting, and professional framing. Unresearched B2B outreach that isn't specific to the target's organizational context lands as spam, even in a professional setting. Research is the minimum viable threshold. If your buyer is individual, B2C, take cold outreach off the list. Redirect that time to the compounding channels in Units 4.2 and 4.3. The buyer type you validated through your hypothesis niche work determines the outreach question. It's not a fresh decision. It follows from the niche work. Some coaches work with individuals but are introduced through an organizational relationship. A company refers an executive for individual coaching. That's B2B introduced B2C. The introduction mechanism changes the dynamic. The trust transfer happens through the organizational relationship, not through cold contact. The clean binary B2B yes, B2C no describes direct outreach. It doesn't describe warm introductions through organizational channels, which is a different play. The channel Stop Doing list from 4.4.1 is on the lesson page. If your hypothesis niche buyer is B2C, cold outreach is the second line item after paid ads. If B2B, note the conditions, researched, targeted, professional framing, and the conditions under which it belongs on the channel matrix. The list closes the channel honesty arc for this module. Two channels, one relationship-based, one compounding. You know what to produce inside them and what to stop. The next question in the operator sequence. When a buyer finds you through those channels and says yes to a discovery call, what happens in that conversation? Module 5, Sales as a Discipline, and the discovery conversation done well.